Hello, and welcome to Technically Speaking, where scientists and engineers come together to chat about a common interest, share knowledge, and satisfy some curiosity. I'm Laura, and I'm joined by Ellie to talk about drug development and what goes into determining drug safety, which is something I'm quite interested in, given the different medically prescribed drugs I've taken over the years. But Ellie, you developed a sudden interest in this topic. So what's going on there? Why are you interested?
Well, I think the entire scientific community has been in uproar this week about Trump and his current comments about paracetamol, or Tylenol, as it's known in the US, and the relationship, or lack of, very strongly emphasized lack of relationship between paracetamol and autism. And it just drives me mad. And I know, as a scientific communicator, someone in the science space, that there is no link between autism and paracetamol use in pregnancy or otherwise.
No, this is it. It was suggesting that pregnant women shouldn't take it. And I did a very brief look and could find the opposite evidence, saying it's really safe and is like a go-to for pregnant women.
Yes, is one of the only safe medications for pregnant women to take. And it's like, how do we get to this point, And why do people believe him? And it just, oh my God, stuff like this really drives me mad. So, as science communicators with a podcast, I feel it's our duty to dispel myths like these and also talk about more widely drugs and side effects and all sorts.
Yeah, because this is something that always intrigues me. You can't test for everything a chemical or a drug would ever do to the human body because we don't know enough about it, and biochemistry is really complicated. But there is a protocol, it sounds like, for figuring out if something is likely to have an effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's like every person reacts differently, right? So there's no way they could test it on every single person that might take it in whatever state, pregnant, not pregnant, man, woman, everything in between. Like there's no way you could cover all those bases. So they have to generalize.
No, and this is why. So once you've got past like testing it in the lab and testing it on animals and then testing it in a clinical trial on people, then it's finally released into the world to be prescribed or over the counter potentially.
Yeah.
They still collect information on it and they still look at all these other populations and reassess the safety documentation. This is what I was reading the other week when I was had a spare time on my hands.
But you were reading safety documentation from your paracetamol packet.
Oh, I was looking at what does it take to get a drug to market, essentially? How do they deem that something is safe if they can't understand every single thing that drug might do to every single part of your body?
Yeah, it is wild when you think about it. Like, I feel a lot of drugs these days are like a general, if you take this, you'll probably feel better. But it's not necessarily a super targeted drug for like one specific thing, necessarily. But I am holding in my hands the paracetamol leaflet. Possible side effects. It's not too bad. I actually thought it was going to be a bigger list. First one, number one, allergic reactions. That's literally true of every single drug you could ever take. You might be allergic. That doesn't bother me that much, even though it could be very serious. Skin rash. Vague.
Oh, yeah.
Mouth ulcers. Not ideal, but
you can live with that, though.
You can live with that. Breathing problems.
Oh.
Which seems quite serious. It says these are more likely if you have experienced them before when taking other painkillers, such as ibuprofen.
Okay.
So it must be something in the painkiller group that affects your lungs.
Yeah, I guess so. That's such a general statement. Just breathing problems. Non-specific.
Very non-specific. The next one, unexplained bruising or bleeding.
Well, that happens to me all the time anyway. I bruise quite easily.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
All the time. It could be literally anything. I think that's quite weird because, like, bruises are impact related usually. Like, you hit your head on not your head, you hit your arm on the desk and you get a bruise, or you fall over and you hurt your knee. And then the other ones are feeling sick, sudden weight loss, loss of appetite, and yellowing of the eyes or skin.
Isn't that so? A liver problem? That's jaundice, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe a sign of problems with your liver function.
Yeah, and I think is it metabolized in the liver? Because it's not the paracetamol drug that you take that acts to relieve pain, is it? It's what your body metabolizes it into, so it's a different chemical.
Oh, is that true? I have no idea. I was under the impression you just swallowed it and it got absorbed into your bloodstream.
No, it sounds like there are a lot of steps to it. I didn't look into too much detail, but there's like a chain of different chemical reactions that has to happen, and then it has to get to the right part of your body to have an effect.
Yeah, that's the thing I believed as a kid. Like, how does it know? Like, if you have a headache and a sore foot and you take paracetamol, does it split? Does it go to your head and your foot because that's how the bloodstream works? Or is it less effective if you just had have one sore foot, no headache? Would it all go to your foot?
I presume it's a full body effect, but there might be a limit to how much it can do. So I took some paracetamol last night for a headache, and it did nothing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, I think some of these side effects you'd have to take more than like 2 tablets or 1 tablet to really suddenly develop yellowing of the skin. It seems like a very large effect for like not that much drug.
Yeah, unless you're at risk. I mean, when I was looking into how do they know if something's safe, they do have ways of calculating how risky something is. So they sort of, like you say, they test it on 1,000 people.
Yeah.
2 of them develop a certain side effect. That's probably a fairly low chance. It depends on what that side effect is, how serious it is. So the seriousness and the number of people it affects determines the overall risk.
Oh, okay. That seems fair. It's like
Yeah.
we were just talking about mouth ulcers. I could live with that. Like, annoying, but not world ending.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they do. So if it's like common, like half of all people taking it, potentially, there's obviously isn't an accurate number. It's just me plucking something out the air. If half of all people got mouth ulcers, they'd still say that's fine because it's a minor medical inconvenience.
Yes, but then if half of all people get major internal bleeding, then maybe we've done something.
Yeah,
wrong.
maybe we don't let people have that one unless they fall into a particular population that won't have that effect.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever look at like the people that experience an effect as like a grouping. Like if 500 people did experience mouth ulcers, is there some commonality between those people?
Yeah, it would make sense. I mean, paracetamol, Tylenol has been used since the 1950s, so decades and decades of people taking it. That seems like quite a large body of knowledge to have. If you can go back to a medical professional and say, I had this side effect, should I be concerned?
Yeah, also, I don't think I would remember. Like if I took paracetamol for a headache and then, like, I don't think I'd then necessarily feel it was related if I then had a rash.
No, me neither. That's the thing. There are so many other different things that could cause those side effects that you couldn't just say it's that paracetamol I took one day last week.
Yeah.
If you've been taking it for several months, then maybe you could argue that's the only thing that changed.
Yeah, that's true. I'll allow that.
I think all drugs seem to have this massive long list of side effects. I think if you actually read those leaflets, you'd never take any medication ever because you'd sit there thinking that sounds really scary.
Yeah. It's some of them are like pretty extreme. I'm terrible because I never read any of the leaflets. I just think I'll take it, I'll be all right. But then some of them are bad. Like, I have had side effects from like antihistamines and stuff where you start feeling a bit dizzy or like a bit out of it. But I had such terrible hay fever that it was a price I was willing to pay to be able to breathe.
I can breathe, and I'm also a little bit spaced out. Not a bad way to go, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got hit by a truck because I wasn't focusing.
I guess don't take it if you're going to do any other risky activity, I suppose.
Well, that's what some of them are like. I think the serious ones say in big letters, don't take this and drive, don't they? Or like, don't take this and operate heavy machinery.
Yeah, and you like to think people would pay attention to that. But then again, if you're like me and you think that's all really scary, I'll just not read it, then I don't know, maybe not. Whose fault is it then? Yours for not reading it, or the people that wrote the information thing for making it in such a way that you don't want to pay attention?
Yeah, it's absolute wild. I think, though, to be fair, if it had any like real bad problems, we wouldn't be taking it. Like, I read in an article that we take collectively as a nation of the UK 6,300 tons of paracetamol per year, which works out about 70 tablets per person. I'm assuming per like 12-year-old. I don't know how how old you have to be, but
that doesn't sound like a huge amount given the number of days in a year.
Yeah. I don't think I'd take 70.
No, I don't think I do. But then I guess there are some people that probably. Well, I remember a time when I was told by a health professional to take painkillers for a week or two to try and clear up a particular problem. So that would be quite a lot in 1 year.
That would be quite a lot of one, yeah. But I guess it so much is taken because it's safe, right? People trust paracetamol. Mostly, apart from he who should not be named.
Yeah, and it's so cheap to make. It's pennies to buy.
It's like 29p in Lidl or something.
Yeah.
Which, that seems completely unethical to me. I don't know how they can make anything for 29p, but is it just because they're making so much? I don't know.
I would guess so. If it's been around for so long, it's probably a really refined method for making it.
Yeah, that's true. It's also an interesting point to be like, they've got from whatever the starting point was in making paracetamol to like mass making paracetamol in factories or whatever. That's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a long time, wasn't it? Originally developed or isolated or whatever the phrase is in sort of the 1800s.
Yes, it was Harmon Northrop Morse. He was the first person to synthesize paracetamol in 1877. But then it did take 10 years between that point and the first person, as in human trial, to take it.
That is probably not too far off the time frame that's used for drug development today, because there must be so many potential drugs that are screened at a really early stage, like in the lab, to see what effect they'd have.
Yes. Isn't there like there was some stat that we had that was like, for every 1,000 drugs, 25 get to human trials and then maybe 2 make it to market or something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right. And I guess there's also an element of, if you're a good enough biochemist, then you'd know from just looking at a molecular structure that you would never take that molecule because it would do terrible things. So don't turn that into a drug.
Yeah, I suppose when you're like, oh, that looks a bit too close to how cyanide looks, or maybe we'll steer clear of this one.
Yeah, but so at the end of all this, I said there's a risk-benefit analysis based on all the data they've collected. I was surprised to learn that there isn't a universal approach for determining the risk versus benefit.
This is wild to me. This seems like there should be like a FDA standard or like a whatever the UK equivalent is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really my field, so I didn't want to spend ages having to learn this entirely new set of information and all the jargon and stuff that goes with it. But it sounds like some of it you can measure things, like so you can get actual numbers for stuff, like 2 in 1,000 people develop a particular side effect.
Yeah.
Or you can just have an element of judgment by experts. So they just kind of say, well, on balance, I think that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Wow.
There's probably more to that than that. They probably have to state their reasoning and defend
I should
their
hope
point
so.
of view.
Just imagine like everyone having a cup of tea and a custard cream being like, yeah, it's probably fine. I think it's probably more serious than that.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm aware of them medical professionals, they specialize on like a really narrow field, don't they? So they know like the brain or the skin really, really, really well.
Yeah.
And they can judge just on that one thing. So you probably have a whole load of different experts in different areas all giving an opinion, and it's what's the overwhelming opinion that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. But I think maybe is that a good thing? Like, say you're developing a new drug to treat like skin rashes. Do you want a panel of skin doctors, or do you want someone from like the liver department, the brain department, the bone department to be like, oh, well, it's good for skin rashes, but absolutely wrecks your bones? Like, do you need that kind of like feedback?
Yeah.
I guess that would be in the data too.
You would think you'd ask them all, but then how many different specialisms would there be? Probably thousands.
Oh, hundreds, yeah. That'll take forever.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it takes, though, to have reasonable confidence that a drug is safe to take to market.
I'd like more. I would like more than reasonable confidence. I would like cold, hard And I'd like it to be standard. I think surely that has to be a priority.
I mean, to be fair, as a scientist that follows protocols, I would also like it to be a bit more defined, but it is what it is.
It is just what it is.
Yeah, and I guess there are events in the past that have shown that what was thought to be fine for a particular population of people turned out wasn't. So it was we've mentioned this before on the podcast, the thalidomide scandal.
Yeah. It's a sad one, really, because it worked as an anti-sickness medication, which is why they gave it to pregnant women. But it obviously had horrendous side effects in the unborn children, then didn't develop limbs or had limb differences when they were born, which nobody knew was going to happen, right? Because presumably when thalidomide was first developed, it was never tested on pregnant people.
Yeah, and when was that? That was sort of, what, 50s-ish? I should know this.
Yeah, it was like early 60s, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just there wasn't a lot of medical research focusing on women's health back then. To be fair, you occasionally hear that there still isn't enough.
Well, there definitely isn't enough, which is why the Trump comments, I'm still stuck on this, I'm going to be stuck on this forever, is just another way for him to suppress women's rights. Because pregnant women basically can only take paracetamol if they feel unwell.
Uh-huh.
And being pregnant, you presumably feel unwell fairly often. So like this is then restricting access to that and making you feel bad. And also then putting the blame of a child having autism on the pregnant person that's then birthed the child.
Yeah, for making that choice to take the drug that someone said with no evidence at all for paracetamol. Yeah.
And no medical training.
But did you know that thalidomide is still in use for, I think it's multiple myeloma?
Wow.
Yeah, but obviously if you're a pregnant person, you don't take it.
That is crazy to me that they're still deemed safe enough, right? Like its side effect is affecting fetuses. So if you're not pregnant or planning to be pregnant, then I guess it's safe for you to take. Like it doesn't have then other bad side effects.
Yeah, and I've come across this before in some medical treatments. They even potentially could do a pregnancy test beforehand to be sure. That is an option.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hospitals and stuff make you do that as like standard before you receive different treatments.
Yeah, and I guess there are lots of drugs where you suddenly find a different use for them. There's something about Viagra that I can't quite remember, that it, as well as being useful for erectile dysfunction, could have benefits to, I don't know, it could be something like Alzheimer's. I might be making that up though.
Well, I think it's good because it's a vasodilator, right? So if you have bad circulation, it's good for that. In more general terms, I don't know a specific case, but I think it can have, maybe sometimes the side effects are what you would want to happen rather than like the main point of the drug itself. I'm not saying this very well.
No, I get what you mean. It's like when the side effect becomes an actual viable treatment method.
Yeah, like a benefit rather than a negative.
There
was one that we were looking at about quinine, which was quite interesting.
That's in gin and tonic water, isn't it?
Yeah, tonic water.
Which is meant to be healthy when it was originally developed. You're saying it's now not?
Well, I think the idea was that they were saying that you could take quinine to treat leg cramps, which was a good thing, was fine, worked. But then they found out that it caused all kinds of horrible problems.
Oh, like what?
This is a list of adverse effects that can occur when you take a therapeutic dose of quinine. So you can have tinnitus.
Ringing in the ears. Nice.
Including high-tone hearing loss. Photophobia.
What? Hang on. You can be scared of the daylight. Or any light?
Any light.
Ooh.
Hypoglycemia, because it affects your pancreas.
Okay, so high blood sugar.
Hypertension.
Okay. It's not looking good.
It's not looking good. And then it keeps going. It's like gastrointestinal symptoms, conduction abnormalities. I don't even truly know what those are. Arrhythmias. Like, literally, there's a whole paragraph of all these bad things. And then it says quinine is modestly effective with regards to leg cramps.
Oh, so a long list of bad side effects and not much of a benefit for the actual thing it's meant to be treating. See, from what I've read from the risk-benefit analysis stuff, to me, as a non-expert, that sounds like they probably shouldn't be prescribing it for leg cramps.
Yes, absolutely it does. And yet it says, because of continued reports about the adverse effects of this, the FDA in 2010 launched a risk management plan. So they had all that time before, presumably when people were taking this and reporting all these problems, and either they didn't do anything about it or they didn't think it was that bad.
No, I guess maybe you can tell someone these are all the potential side effects. It's your choice. It's your body. If you want, if you think that leg cramps are so terrible that the side effects are not as bad and you can tolerate them, then go ahead.
Yeah. It's crazy, though, to me. Well, I suppose it's not, because you wouldn't necessarily get them, would you? You could be the lucky person that takes quinine for leg cramps and is fine and, has no more leg cramps and sleeps through the night and everything is okay.
Yeah.
Or you could develop hearing loss and hypoglycemia and hypertension and all the rest of it.
Oh, I wonder how likely it is to get all of them.
Oh, that's true. I didn't consider that. Presumably you'd get one, maybe two. You wouldn't get, the whole 10 list that I just read out.
Yeah, I would guess. I don't know. Again, it depends on the individual. Maybe there is an unlucky person out there somewhere that did suffer from all of them and decided it wasn't worth it. They just live with the cramps.
Yeah. It does say that there is consensus that quinine should not be used routinely for nocturnal leg cramps, but a complete ban is a bad idea.
No, so presumably there are some people that benefit from it.
Still want the quinine. Yeah.
Makes you think though. So, what sort of risk would you be willing to accept if you were taking a particular drug? The contraceptive pill is quite a common one.
Boy.
That also has a long list of side effects.
Look at this piece of paper. I know that you guys listening to the podcast can't see this, but it is the entire block of my face on the Zoom call is taken up by this piece of paper. I will say that some of it is about how you should successfully take the pill and instructions for what to do. But a lot of it is potential side effects.
Is that a list literally as long as your arm?
Yeah. Yeah, genuinely is.
It is. It's even longer. It's longer than your arm. Yeah.
It's longer than my arm. Okay, so this is what I deem acceptable when taking the pill every day. Well, there's also the scary thing is that it says 4 possible side effects, and then it says 4.1 serious side effects. See your doctor straight away.
Oh yeah. What are the serious ones then?
Blood clots, which is a commonly known side effect of the pill.
Yes.
Stroke.
Oh yeah.
Which I guess is a side effect of the blood clot, or, a potential follow-on. Heart attack. There's less serious side effects. That's 4.2.
Okay.
Feeling sick, putting on weight, headaches, depressive moods or mood swings, sore, painful breasts.
Okay. I can understand most of that because it's essentially a fake hormone, so it would have the effects that hormones have.
Yeah, and a lot of these are classic period things anyway, right? Lots of people experience sore breasts, lots of people experience headaches. That's not particularly different. Other side effects reported: yellow-brown patches on the skin.
Okay.
Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis.
Sometimes I wish they'd explain how you get from taking a fake hormone to having these weird side effects. I don't see the connection.
No, because I thought Crohn's disease was a lifelong thing, right? I don't believe, though I could be wrong, that people suddenly develop it. Most people have it from when they're very young, but again, not a medical expert.
Mm.
And then persistent itching. Oh, geez.
Oh, but then how would you know if it's because of that or just because you've started using a new detergent or there's a change in the air around you because someone suddenly started burning waste in their back garden every day or something?
Yeah. There's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember there being that many. Times have changed.
I'm going to gently fold this away because that is a lot to digest
Oh.
all in one go. But also, right, we're putting up with it. Well, I'm putting up with it because the main thing that I want the pill for is not to get pregnant. So then I'm happy to put up with the myriad of potential side effects. But again, it's like, how do you know? How do you know if it's a side effect of taking the pill or is it just a side effect of a period in the first place?
Yeah, it's just life as a woman. Did you ever think that you may have experienced something because of the pill?
No, I think I've got off pretty lightly, but I have definitely had friends say it gave me migraines, which is quite a common one, and then I couldn't take it.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. So I mentioned, I always found it odd that when you went in for your sort of your checkup to get another set of pills, they just say you're having any problems with it. And I never really understood what that question meant because it was so non-specific. If they had have said, have you noticed any side effects that are on the sheet? Then we could have a discussion. And I just happened to say I get migraines. Didn't think it was anything to do with the pill. And they said, oh, we'll have to take you off it then and put you on something else because it gives you a slightly increased risk of, I think it was stroke it was related to.
Yeah.
And there's another pill they can put you on to avoid that.
I think the blood clot thing is the thing that they're most worried about. So if you say then you have migraines, then it all ties in. But yeah, I've also experienced like mood swings. There was a big thing, maybe it was like 3 or 4 years ago, about depression being related to the pill. And I guess that also makes sense because it's hormones, right? And the hormones affect how your mood feels and then mood swings. And then I guess it could lead into depression for some people. But also, you could just develop depression regardless of being on the pill.
You could. I guess if you wanted to test it, you could just stop using it for a bit and see what happens.
See if you feel better.
Mm.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Like 3 million people took the pill in the year 2017 to 2018. So it's like very widely used. Not quite as widely used as paracetamol, but like that's a big cohort.
Yeah, so again, I guess lots of data to collect information on. I would like to think that every time you go to your GP and report a side effect, it goes into some database somewhere that then scientists can sift through to find out how to refine drug making. Maybe not, though.
Yeah, I would think it would be too much like GDPR sort of thing.
You can anonymise it, though, can't you? Say a person that fits this demographic profile developed this symptom.
Yeah.
It does happen. I've seen
absolutely.
quite a few studies where they've done that. And I think the NHS has started to do, anyways, our National Health Service, where you sort of automatically have your anonymised data going to a database that researchers can use, which I think is probably quite a good thing because it's how you help make things better.
Yes, absolutely. And you don't have to do anything. All you're doing is what you would do normally. It just filters off into the ether.
Yeah. We started talking about paracetamol quite a long time ago. We kind of stopped. But I think it's because it's one of those things that's so prevalent and so many people take it as part of their normal life that it's a bit of a non-story in a way. One bloke started saying daft things about it and it blew up into a news story. Maybe they should have all just ignored him.
Yeah, well, I think that is the policy that I take when it comes to him. And sometimes you can't ignore it, and sometimes you need to fight back with science research instead.
Yes. I always think that it does give a good opportunity for people to fact check or look into something and have conversations like this.
Yes.
And
no, it's so important that people keep talking about it.
yeah, and generate a bit of interest in this thing and look into it for yourself and satisfy yourself. Is this a thing I should be concerned with?
I think the good thing about Trump saying what he said about paracetamol and autism is that there's now 25, 20, 250, 1,000 articles on it, all being like, there is no link between women taking paracetamol and their offspring developing autism.
Yeah, and hopefully those
So-
articles spread widely and cancel out that one ridiculous statement.
Yes, exactly. And all the doctors will be there like, no, it's completely safe for you to take this.
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect point to end this then, I think. Yeah, so paracetamol, perfectly fine to take if you're pregnant, will not harm your baby, as some people might say. There's an awful lot that goes into developing drugs before they get to market, and the risks versus the benefits continue to be refined even after the drug has gone to market. And there are lots of different uses for drugs that we currently have, but we maybe don't really know it yet. So there's a lot more research going on. So if you have enjoyed listening to this conversation, then please join us for the next one, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
The views expressed in this podcast belong entirely to the person that said them. They do not represent any industry or organisation. If you enjoyed listening to these views, it would really help us out if you could rate us, leave a review and tell a friend. This podcast was sponsored by no one, but if you're interested in funding us to continue to have frank discussions about science and engineering, please get in touch.